To keep or not to keep?
Hey guys, I'm Justin.
I'm Leigh.
And it has been 2 weeks since our last To Keep or Not to Keep video. The series that we do where I get my ass chewed for keeping things Leigh doesn't agree with. So anyways, we're back.
That's not what I said. I just asked if I wasn't going to, my opinion didn't matter. Why was I going to be on here?
Anyways, so this week we have 13 films. Some of these we actually didn't watch. We'll get into why. We'll actually start with those first. So first up here is Full Moon. This is The Killer Eye. So let's talk real quick about why I purchased. There's 4 full moons to start. So let's back up, give a story as to why I purchased. Full Moon, during their Valentine's Day sale, they said that a lot of their DVDs were going to go out of print. Once they were done, they were done. I don't know if they're trying to move away from the DVD model, do just Blu-rays. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But I purchased a lot of their back catalog DVDs that I had never seen because they were $5. And I was like, well, if they're going to go out of print, I would like to at least see them because I do actually enjoy Full Moon for the most part. I didn't read synopsises. Bad on me. And so we were going through and we picked some of these. I had been busy all day long.
Actually, I picked them.
Yeah. So I had been busy all day long. It finally came time to sit down and watch something. And I told Leigh, I was like, just pick whatever you think would be okay off the shelf. She was like, hey, this one has 2 parts. Let's see if part 1 sucks and go from there. So that's kind of what happened. With as many movies as we have on the shelf, me and Leigh enact what we call the 30-minute rule. So that is, once a movie has its opening credits, we give it 30 minutes. If we are not invested in the plot, if we are not invested in characters, whatever the case may be, we take it out, we get rid of it. With that helps us just kind of filter through stuff. If a film is 40 minutes or whatever, if you're not, or an hour and 40 minutes, if you're not into it in 30, it's going to make for a really long trek for the end. So anyways, that's kind of our backstory. Killer Eye was the first one that we tried to watch. This one was rough. So this is like a Full Moon kind of original. This one's a pretty old release for them. So essentially, without going too far into detail because of the nature of the film, you have a scientist and he is trying to basically, the eyes are the windows to the soul, I guess, and he's trying to kind of depict that and trying to kind of see, like as far as the eye, what is imprinted on it. And he's having an argument with his wife, and this machine kind of goes off incorrectly. It zaps this guy, and his eye grows to this humongous eyeball and pops right out of his head and goes around, and the eye has one thing on its mind, basically, and that is sex. And killing. 2 things, I guess you could say. So very, very weird. Again, we got about 30 minutes into it. The story just wasn't moving along very well, and the characters were typical Full Moon characters. Not a lot of great acting in these. So yeah, Killer Eye. I vote so.
Definitely so.
Okay, see, we agree. Next up, because we did not like Killer Eye Part 1, I did not even go through the trouble of opening Killer Eye Part 2 because we figured it was more of the same, so why open something when you didn't like Part 1? So Killer Eye, Halloween Haunt, can't really give an opinion on this one. We're going to say that it's pretty much, in our opinion, as bad as the first one, given synopsis.
Based off of the covers, yeah, I would say it's probably more of the same.
Yeah, so again, vote to sell. We don't know anything about it. And these next ones, unfortunately, after we got done with those, she turned around and picked another Full Moon that had 2 parts. And so we started out with Decadent Evil. This movie, I was really confused. It started out, and like the first 10 minutes of it is like a revamp, a relook, I guess you could say, at Vampire Journals, which is not one of my favorite Full Moons anyways. I keep it because in theory, air quotes, it's part of the Subspecies series, right? So I keep it for that reason and that reason alone. But this one, when you get into it, it's basically this vampire that owns a brothel, I guess you would consider it. And that's pretty much all we got out of it in 30 minutes. It really didn't do a very good job of tying itself into Vampire Journals.
I think they just work at a brothel and bring their victims back to their gigantic home. But anyway,
Or their mansion
regardless,
or whatever.
yeah.
And you have what is his name? I will find it. Phil Fonderico. I probably just butchered that last name. He is the little person that plays in a lot of the Full Moon stuff. He was in Sideshow. He was in The Creeps. I love him in pretty much everything he does, and so he was a really big selling point for this for me when I saw that he was in it. However, he plays like this little creature that's locked up. It's not even him. He just voices it. It's really weird. I didn't care for it. Vote to sell. And much like Killer Eye, we did not even bother opening Part 2, which is the Decadent Evil 2. I think this is, Depraved. We didn't even mess with opening this one. Again, sure, it's more of the same thing. If you don't like Part 1, 9 times out of 10, Part 2 is not going to be any better. So, Decadent Evil Part 2, vote to sell. I might have to open that one because it sounds like we potentially have a disc loose. I'll probably open it. It'll probably be a flyer, but we want to make sure when we go to sell that, no one gets a loose disc. Next up, I got this off Amazon a couple months ago, but I don't remember exactly when. But anyways, it's Silent Night. We watched this, and boy, they nailed the silence part of it. This film has no dialogue really whatsoever. There's a couple of people that talk. But it's very short and very sweet, and
more
it's
background and yeah.
It's only a few words because without those few words, the story wouldn't move forward. I will say it was a cool take on a film. It did have several cool shots and stuff.
And we did finish it, so clearly it kept our attention enough to.
Yeah, we wanted to see if it got any better, kind of. But basically,
it was not a bad movie.
It was not. I could have done with talking though.
Yeah.
But essentially what it is this guy lives in a very bad part of town. It is ruled by gangs. A gang does a drive-by on Christmas morning and without, they weren't trying to. It just a stray bullet winds up hitting his son and killing him. He goes after them and they slit his throat. And they think that they've killed him, but all they did was make it where he can't talk. And so he's an alcoholic. He drove himself absolutely mad. He can't talk. And so basically he wakes up one day and he's like, you know what? I'm tired of feeling sorry for myself. I'm going to go kill some people. And his wife winds up leaving him, and that's basically fuel to the fire, and that's all it takes. And so he goes and gets his revenge on the gangs. Overall, for me, though, I'm still going to have to vote to sell. I don't ever see myself rewatching this.
No, I don't think we'll ever watch it.
So there we go.
So proud of you.
That's pretty bad. We've done 5 movies, and all of them have been sales. And I have to say, with this one, it don't get a whole hell of a lot better. It is Edge of Sanity. Anthony Perkins, I absolutely loved him in Psycho. And I do have to say, his character in this is phenomenal. He does a great job at playing his character. But what Edge of Sanity is essentially Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So Dr. Jekyll, he has seen a I don't know that it ever really tells. Is it his dad and a prostitute?
I'm assuming. It never says.
It never says. So we're going to go with that portion of the storyline. If I'm wrong, so sorry. But I'm assuming that he sees his dad and a prostitute when he is young. His dad winds up seeing him spying on them, so he beats him. And so years later, he goes and he grows up and he is coming out with this new anesthetic drug. And he is testing it on a monkey, and the monkey winds up mixing some chemicals with it, knocking some chemicals over. He breathes them in. It turns him into Jack Hyde. And he basically scours the streets of Victorian London, killing the night workers, as we'll call them. And it's basically his dive into insanity. There's very few kills. In this though, in all honesty, given the plot, he killed there's 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. I have to say, precursor to this, when I bought this, I didn't really know what it was about. After I read the synopsis of it, I bought it from an Arrow sale. After I read the synopsis, I was like, this is going to have a lot of nudity. I'm not going to like it. I have to say, though, I was actually kind of surprised by how little that there was. There really wasn't a lot. Mm-hmm. For the storyline to be considered around prostitutes. But there really wasn't a lot of nudity. Overall, it had a pretty decent story. It moved at a snail's pace, though. I found myself looking at my phone several times. This is only 90 minutes, but I looked several times trying to see how much longer it was. I don't know. Just something about this one didn't hit. The ending really fell short.
The ending sucked.
With kind of how it ended. I don't really know. I don't know if they were going for like a shock ending or exactly what happened there. But anyways, Edge of Sanity, Arrow Video, as much as I hate to do it, vote to sell.
Sell. Next
up, this is from Dark Sky Films. This has got Jenna Cannell, and it is Faceless After Dark. So this movie, I don't really even know 100% how to describe this one. You have Jenna Cannell, and she has starred in one low-budget horror film, and that's basically all she's done. It has skyrocketed her to the top, and now she's having trouble finding acting jobs. But instead, you have all these people that are like clingy fans and just weird people overall. And she basically, it drives her mad. And in order to get her madness out, I guess you would say, she winds up taking kind of her revenge and making her own film where she is the star of it. Against the people who have kind of wronged her, or whatever the case may be. It was definitely different. It really, honestly, though, is, I won't say it's a true film, but I can see where something like this would be like almost real life. You have these. It really dives into the convention aspect of it, which is something we're of course very much into. But like the whole like going to conventions, creepy fans.
People instant messaging or IMing.
Yes, like very, very, very weird. So, anyways, I didn't dislike this one though. It's kind of deceiving in the trailer, and even on the cover here, you see a clown. The clown really does not play a part of that. I thought that the clown was going to be the killer, which I was like super into, and you actually find out it's not. The clown is just the fictional killer in the film that Jenna Cannell is famous for. This also has Catherine, and I wish I could remember her last name, Catherine Corcoran from the first Terrifier as well, the blonde. It was kind of cool to see her in this with like her and Jenna Cannell.
Much though.
She wasn't, but it was still cool because like the scene that she is in, her and Jenna Cannell are sitting beside each other at a convention, and like if you go to conventions and they're both there, that's legitimately how it is. So like I think this was filmed like at a legit convention, that part of it. I don't know. It had cool aspects, had some things I definitely would have changed, but for this one, for the time being, I would vote to keep this one.
Okay. I'm okay with it.
I mean,
I probably would vote to sell because I don't feel like I'll ever watch it again. But
I don't think I probably ever will either, but for now I'm going to keep it just because it was so different. I don't know that I've ever really seen anything quite like that. Just, kind of surrounding the conventions.
Okay.
Next up, we have Craving. So I bought this at Atlanta Days of the Dead. I think all three of us did, me, Carl, and Eric. And we got around to watching ours. The big selling point, of course, of this is Felicia Rose. She's in it for probably the first, 10 minutes maybe?
Maybe 15, but yeah.
And I don't really know how you would describe this one either. Basically, there's patrons in a bar. And there's these people that come into the bar and they kind of hold them hostage because there's people trying to get them outside of the bar. And really it's a deep dive into like they're trying to figure out there's a monster on the loose, and like they're trying to figure out who it is. I don't know, it's very strange. There's a lot of twists and turns that this takes, but it is a lower budgeted film, and unfortunately for me, the twists and turns are kind of fall flat.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, it was not a terrible movie. It was shot great. The gore effects and everything are phenomenal. For the time being, because again, low budget, we all enjoy low budget films and stuff like that. I'm going to vote to keep this one for now just because, again, low budget, I don't really know how much resale value this one would really have. And, there's sometimes we keep low budget that's bad in our collection just because it's bad and just because we like low budget. So, or at least that's my opinion. So for now, I'll vote to keep this one.
Okay.
And then next up here, Leigh actually didn't watch this one. This is The Curse 2, The Bite from 88 Films. The Curse 1, or just Curse, I think is the name of it, is much better, filmed in Knoxville. But Part 2, I still enjoy this one. So essentially what it is this guy is going cross country with his girlfriend, and they run over all these snakes that have been like genetically altered in the road. He winds up stopping at a gas station bathroom. One of the snakes bites his arm, and it infects him, and his arm basically becomes a snake, and he becomes agitated, he becomes angry, violent, and each time, you know, that snake kind of gets a little more prominent in the film. Really stupid. Definitely a creature feature, not a great creature feature either, but one that I do still enjoy. Again, I don't know how much rewatchability this has, but let's be honest, with as many movies as we have, not a lot has rewatchability in this house, just because we've got so much. But for the time being, I do vote to keep, and I am on the look for Curse 1. So if anyone knows where I can get a copy of that, hit me down below. Usually I can find stuff like that, but all I can find is like the German media book, and I'm not real big on those. Just because they don't really fit anywhere else on the shelf. But anyways, Curse 2, The Bite, vote to keep. Alrighty, so getting kind of towards the end here, we finally broke into some of the Scream Factory stuff that we got a few months ago. And so the first one that we watched was Alligator 2, The Mutation. I enjoyed this one. Everyone said that this film sucked and that they hated it compared to Alligator 1. And so when I watched this, I was like, I just want to get it to see part 2 because we watched part 1. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't dislike this one at all. I thought that it had a very strong story, actually, with basically what you have is an alligator is loose in the sewers, and there is a guy who is he is building this condo complex, I guess, kind of like a...
Yeah.
I don't really know how you... Anyways, it's got like a big pond out in the middle of it. And he has been dumping toxic waste. And so this alligator has come. He's gotten into the toxic waste, and he's hella big. And so essentially you have this no-nonsense cop, and he kind of takes things into his own hands. He is married to Dee Wallace's character, who is like a...
scientist.
Yeah, so she is able to like look at different things, the saliva, and yes, so she's able to look and kind of assists with that. Overall, I thought it had actually a pretty strong story. I did enjoy it. I didn't think it was as bad as what everyone was saying, and certainly wasn't as bad as what I pictured it being when we went in. So, Alligator 2, The Mutation, I would vote to vote to keep.
Okay.
Next up, I have a ton of fun with this one. I had the Snapper Case DVD of this when it first came out, and it is, nothing personifies the early 2000s like this movie, and that is David Arquette with Eight-Legged Freaks. David Arquette was on a high here. He had just done Scream, which of course was a box office hit. He did this. Before this, he did Ready to Rumble and was also your WCW World Champion, and had one of the greatest main events ever. That's a joke. But one of the greatest main events ever in Slamboree 2000, where he would be in the 3-tier cage from Ready to Rumble with Diamond Dallas Page and that's sad. Jeff Jarrett. How did I forget that? Diamond Dallas Page and Jeff Jarrett. That is something me and Dan hopefully will review at one point, because I actually really do enjoy that match, as bad as it is. It was just cool being a kid, seeing the spectacle that was the 3-tier cage. Anyways, we're here to talk about this, Eight-Legged Freaks. Basically, David Arquette's character has moved away. He has come back. You have all these people that are trying to... they are being persuaded to sell. They have stayed in this small town because they think that the mine that is there will eventually rise to prosperity, and they'll all get jobs back and all be able to live comfortably. But then you have like this giant businessman, I guess you could call him. He's built a big mall there. He's tried to bring people in. Nothing's working. So now he's brokered a deal basically for everyone to sell and for him to make quite the pretty penny in profit. And so David Arquette comes back and he's like, "You're not selling the mine. We're going to open it back up. We're going to figure it out." And anyways, much like Alligator 2, this big businessman has been dumping radioactive waste into the caves, and it makes these big spiders grow. And so the spiders eventually rise up and attack the city. Cheese, dumb. Is it a good movie? No. Is it a fun movie though? Yes, in my opinion. I really enjoy Eight-Legged Freaks, so of course my vote will be to keep it.
I keep it.
I'm so glad I have your approval.
Yeah.
Next up, this one was really good, but I will say the effects hold up terribly, and that is Drag Me to Hell. I love this film. This film, when I first watched it years and years ago, actually made me jump quite a few times.
I did jump.
Yes, Lee still did. Drag Me to Hell, though, this one's fun. Essentially what it is this girl is up for a promotion at her job. She works at a bank. I think, in all honesty, she kind of wants the promotion because she's dating Justin Long's character, who comes from a very well-to-do family. And so I think she wants to do better for herself, not only to do better for herself, but also to be viewed as more of a acceptable person to be in his life. So anyway, she's fighting for that, and her boss tells her, like, look, you have to be cutthroat. You have to be, you can't be so easygoing on people. So anyways, this gypsy woman comes in, and she's trying to get an extension on her loan, and she decides it's this woman she's going to buck up to and say no. So of course the woman puts a gypsy curse on her, and she is cursed and has this demon that is basically after her, trying to drag her to hell. That's pretty much, that's about the best way I can describe it. Like I said, though, some of the effects in this hold up really poorly. This is done by Sam Raimi, and I think it's actually done by the other one too, both Raimis. The effects hold up really poor, though. Like the handkerchief floating through the air kind of holds up pretty poor. There's a couple of different things, but then there's a lot of things that hold up really well in this one as well. It's still, like Lee said, made her jump. Like stuff like that holds up well in this one. So you got to kind of take the good with the bad as far as some of those things come up. But I think Drag Me to Hell overall is still a really decent film, given the time, and vote to keep.
Go right ahead. I will not probably watch it again.
And then we will end here with the only Vinegar Syndrome that we got watched this time around, and that is The Carpenter. We didn't get as much watch this time. We've had a lot of stuff going on. That's just going to be the way some of these goes. Sometimes in 2 weeks we'll watch 20 movies. Sometimes we might watch 5. Just depends on what we got going on. We still watch 13. That's a pretty healthy amount, though. So, but anyways, we've got The Carpenter here.
Well, we didn't watch all those.
Well,
but yeah.
no. Well, we didn't watch 2, so we watched 11. But yeah, so we've got The Carpenter. This has got Wings Hauser, which he just passed away literally like 2 weeks ago at this point. So RIP to him, I guess. But Wings Hauser, again, I don't really know how the best way to describe this one. It takes a lot of twists and turns. You have this woman who is in an asylum, basically. Her husband pulls her out. He's having an affair. So he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You go do you. And he has bought this house, and she has not seen it. And he's having it fixed up, and it's basically a way for her to stay at home, stay out of his business, and help fix up the house. But at the same time, he's kind of an ass about her fixing up the house because she wants to go pick out paint and wallpaper, and he's like, screw you, we're not doing that. So
he won't give her the money for it.
No.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of almost like a means to an end. It's like, I bought you this house, I'm going to have it fixed up, and then I'm going to move my mistress in here, I guess, and I'm going to kick you to the curb. I'm not real sure. But anyways, she is having trouble sleeping, and she keeps hearing this stuff at night. And when she goes down, you've got the carpenter, which is Wings Hauser. He's working on the house, and he's like, if you don't work all hours of the night, things don't get done. And so she basically winds up falling in love with him, and everybody that wrongs her dies at the hand of the carpenter. This movie, it deflects. It makes you think, is he kind of a ghost or is he not? You find out, spoiler alert, you find out kind of towards the end that you don't really think that he is. It's almost like, is he a ghost, and is he just her? Is it like
in her mind?
Yeah, is it in her mind, and she's the one doing all the killing, I guess. And you find out kind of towards the end, it kind of explains that he's real, he's there. But then there's this whole thing with, like, in the middle, they were telling the story of, like, the carpenter, he worked and drove himself mad. So it does a weird job of trying to deflect and trying.
He was the original owner of the home, and
yeah. It does a weird job of trying to deflect and stuff like that. But anyways, the kill scenes are pretty cool. They're all done, of course, with carpentry stuff. He cuts someone's arms off with a skill saw. We've got a nail gun kill in there. The only complaint I have with the kill scenes in this, and it's not because of the movie, it's just the negatives were lost, and Vinegar Syndrome even puts that at the beginning of this release. So you've got these bright, vibrant colors during the rest of the film. The film looks really good and cleaned and restored. And then it's like every kill scene, it goes back to grain because the elements and stuff were lost for the kill scene. So that's neither here nor there. That's not Vinegar Syndrome's fault. I don't know. This one was definitely weird. It wasn't a bad movie. It was just kind of weird. I don't really know how to describe it any better than that. So, for the time being, though, again, Vinegar Syndrome, it wasn't terrible. Warranting a rewatch, I would vote to keep for now.
Okay.
So, there you go. That concludes for us this 2 weeks episode. So, out of 13 films, we are selling 6 of them. So, almost half. So, that's probably the most we've sold on an episode, honestly.
Maybe.
I don't know. Anyways, we hope that you have enjoyed. Tune in later this week as we will be going over our March 2025 collection update. There is a lot of stuff in that. A lot of money was spent, so hopefully I make it through that video with my wife. But anyways, we have that next week. The week after, we have planned to do our Gateway Horror episode. I wanted to do that one. That's going to be a huge one for me. I really have a lot to show off in that one. So
it's long.
Yeah, that one will be pretty long. But it'll be worth it. So, it'll be worth it. Anyways, we hope that you guys have enjoyed this week with us on To Keep or Not to Keep. Again, this series every about 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back with you. And we will hopefully have another crop of titles and see what we've decided to watch and what we've decided to keep and what we're going to sell. So there we go. We appreciate you guys tuning in. All the social medias down below. We want you to go follow us on those. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. And hit the bell notification so that you know every time that we upload videos. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. Again, we appreciate you guys tuning in. And we will catch you next time with another episode of To Keep or Not to Keep.
To keep or not to keep.